Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Grab the jacket out the door this morning. Temperatures beginning in the 40s, but coming up, I'll show you which parts of the area stand the chance for patchy frost by this time tomorrow morning.
We're diving into that, plus this, addressing school issues. Today, a new light on what's top of mind for North Carolina educators, what it could mean for school funding, plus planning for the future. Carytown leaders will share details today about their priorities, what you can expect after questions about previous overspending. A lot of things that are happening today, this Tuesday, April 7th, as you're joining us here at 4:30 on WRAL News. Bless you for being here so early. I'm Chris Lovingood, and joining me this early, we've got my friend, meteorologist Chris Michaels. He's going to kind of walk you through what you expect as you're walking out of the house, plus later this week.
Yeah, and welcome to the Chris half hour here at 4:30, starting out with some high clouds overhead, and that could actually lead to a pretty nice sunrise later this morning. But you're up, you're Adam, and we appreciate you for that. Fayetteville, Raleigh, and Durham at 48 degrees, Rocky Mountain, Wilson, 45. So pretty much no matter where you are, you're starting out with at least a light jacket this morning, and something that continues for the next several hours. There's 7 o'clock, temperatures mid to upper 40s. By 9 o'clock, we start to crack the half-century mark, and we make it into the low 50s. Today, we'll continue to see that thick upper-level cloud cover, but it's nothing that's going to produce any needed rain. We'll be comfy with that mix of clouds and sun, and temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. There is still a threat for some brush fires due to the low humidity. Another thing we're keeping an eye on, the chance for patchy frost. We'll show you when we see that and why we see temperatures back in the 70s and 80s shortly thereafter. All that coming your way all throughout the morning right here on WRAL News. Chris?
Well, the roller coaster continues, Chris. All right, thank you. Well, we're talking about a missing Cary man who was found dead after a crash in Raleigh. And Raleigh police say the man was 48-year-old Linwood Phillips, right here on the screen. He was a rideshare driver who was reported missing just last week. And officers say they got a report of an overturned car in the woods yesterday afternoon, and that was at I-40 and Wade Avenue. They believe the car was going 70 miles an hour when it crashed. And they also believe that Phillips died on impact. Today, Wake County School Superintendent Robert Taylor will present his budget proposal for the next school year, and that budget is likely to have cuts, and those could include cuts to staffing. Last month, he proposed $18 million in cuts to special education, laying off 130 employees. He backed off that proposal after some pushback from the school board as well as the community. He initially planned to ask commissioners for $25 million more in funding. And the school board is also scheduled to discuss safety measures on campus. This comes after a student brought a gun to Millbrook High School in February. Officials will also go over other safety updates, including the district's new emergency response system. This morning, education leaders and policymakers from across North Carolina plan to talk about the biggest issues facing public schools. Let's go ahead and bring in WRAL's Allie Cadlebar. She's at the McKimmon Center on NC State's campus. Allie, today we're expecting leaders to talk a little bit more about school funding.
Yeah, and this event is coming just days after the state Supreme Court threw out a well-known education lawsuit that would have increased school funding. Now, this morning, the Public School Forum of North Carolina is hosting its annual Eggs and Issues breakfast. Now, both Democratic and Republican state lawmakers will be speakers, and they're going to talk about top priorities for education in the upcoming session. A big topic on people's mind right now is state funding for schools. And it's been less than a week since the state Supreme Court threw out the 32-year-old education lawsuit known as Leandro. Now, it would have increased school funding by $5 billion, and the court said it didn't have the jurisdiction to settle disputes about education policy. It's now in the hands of lawmakers. And this morning, we plan to ask lawmakers and education leaders about what's next for school funding. We're going to be following this on WRAL throughout the day. Reporting live in Raleigh, Allie Cadlebar, WRAL News.
Today, Carytown leaders are asking for your input on their town budget. And WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is on that story this morning from the Cary Town Hall. Kelsey, today's event comes as the town's financial reporting is under review.
Yes, Chris, it does. Today, Carytown leaders are seeking your input and feedback. They're giving people information about how they create their budget and giving folks an inside look about what happens here inside Town Hall. This comes after town leadership has been under fire over financials. Former town manager Sean Stiegel was fired over questions about town spending just a few months ago. The documents indicate Stiegel spent thousands of dollars in 2023 at a four-star hotel during a conference conference in Austin, Texas. Records also indicate that the town bought land near Cary Elementary School totaling more than $1 million. Those documents also point out that the decision was against the recommendation of the assistant town manager, and every town council member did not know about that transaction. The state auditor and Wake County District Attorney are also reviewing the town's financial reporting. So today's open house is scheduled to be from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Cary Senior Center. It's designed to be a drop-in experience, so people can come and go as they please. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Cary.
We are following developing news in the war in Iran as President Donald Trump is threatening to destroy every bridge and power plant in Iran. President Trump made that threat during a news conference yesterday afternoon, as well as over the weekend, and experts warn this would violate international humanitarian law as it relates to civilians in Iran. And this is happening as the deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz comes at 8 p.m. tonight. The president says Iran could be, quote, taken out in one night, and he says this is a critical point in the war. Iran warns the consequences of any widespread attacks would stretch beyond the region. So we are looking at how this war is affecting gas prices here in the States. The average cost in Raleigh is now $3.95. The highest average cost in our area is actually in Halifax County at $4.01. The lowest in Harnett and Wilson counties at $3.90. You can find the lowest gas prices wherever you are with the WRAL Fuel Tracker. Just go to our website, WRAL.com, and search the word fuel. The Michigan Wolverines are NCAA men's college basketball champions. The Wolverines took down the UConn Huskies in last night's title game 69-63. And if you didn't know, this is the second time Michigan has won that national championship. In Chapel Hill, UNC apparently has found its next head basketball coach. The school is working toward finalizing a deal with Michael Malone to take the reins of the Tar Heels. And that's according to at least two sources to WRAL. Malone was head coach of the NBA's Denver Nuggets for 10 seasons, winning a championship with them. He will replace Hubert Davis, who was fired after 5 seasons. You can count on WRAL to stay with this story. And of course, you can find analysis, including how UNC ultimately came to that decision on the WRAL YouTube channel. The Artemis II mission crew is now on course to head back to Earth after their historic lunar flyby. The 4 astronauts flew by the far side of the moon, and that is something no human has ever done before. They captured never-before-seen images of the dark side of the moon, and they also broke the distance record of a human from Earth set by the Apollo 13 crew in 1970. Astronaut and NC State alumna Christina Cook reflected on their historic journey after that flyby.
I'm not ready to go home. I can't believe that something this cramped of quarters can fly by and still be fun every single minute.
And then she will sniff the Bojangles, and then it'll all go away. No, we can't wait for her to get back nice and safely. The crew is expected to return to Earth on Friday, and they're set to splash down off the coast of San Diego in California. So we have had a live stream on the WRAL YouTube channel of the Artemis mission since it launched last week. We are going to leave it up until the astronauts return home safely. People across the state are sending their condolences to the family of former Miss North Carolina, Carrie Everett. Everett passed away on Easter after her fight with gastric cancer. She was 22 years old. Everett was just the 4th black woman to hold their title after she won it in 2024. And last July, she was diagnosed with a highly aggressive form of cancer in her stomach. Administrators at Everett's alma mater, NCCU, say that her voice, her talent, and her presence touched the heart of the community. And students we spoke with say they learned an important lesson from all of her accomplishments.
Have confidence. That's what she showcased throughout, even whenever she was going through her sickness. She had confidence, she had strength, she had faith, and she showcased that. She inspired other people.
In a statement, the Miss North Carolina Scholarship Fund says in part that Everett's untimely passing silences a strong voice for social justice, but her impact will continue to live on in the lives she touched. Well, this morning, a now former state lawmaker is facing new charges. Former Democratic State Representative Cecil Brockman is facing 4 new charges of statutory sex offense with a child. He appeared in court yesterday. Brockman was already charged with statutory sex offense, as well as indecent liberties and sexual exploitation. And if convicted and gets the maximum, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. Brockman resigned last fall after he was first arrested. People in Vance County spoke to county commissioners about a plan that could bring a data center to their community. A lot of residents are speaking against the idea of bringing the data center to their backyards, and county commissioners now want to delay their decision on this. Natelli Holdings is the company proposing rezoning plans along 158 acres just west of Henderson. And the official reason why that hasn't been shared, but residents strongly believe it's for a data center. And nearly 24 people shared their thoughts regarding health and environmental concerns, along with the developer's attorney for the possible project.
Your comprehensive plan encourages economic development and expanding the tax base, and the proposed rezoning would accomplish those goals.
This is going to be hard for us. It's going to affect us. These are our homes, our children.
Well, and the same company, Natelli, recently pulled plans on building a data center in Apex because of the town debating how zoning would be changed there. Your time this morning is 4:40. RSV spreading. What parents need to know as health leaders are extending vaccine availability. Plus, working to keep the majority. How one Republican group in our state is working to help Michael Whatley's campaign for the Senate.
And so far this year, we've seen 15 days in the 80s. That's the most through this point in the year on record. I'm going to show you what takes us from patchy frost back to the 80s between now and the weekend. Coming up in a few minutes.
From the WRAL Severe Weather Center, North Carolina's most experienced team of meteorologists.
444, a light jacket will do you some good this morning in Lewisburg at 41, Roxborough 43, Wilson and Rocky Mount 45 degrees, upper 40s in the Triangle this morning. Sanford and Robbins down to about 40 degrees, Clinton 47, Irwin and Smithfield. Good morning. You're at 45 degrees. That exercise is going to feel good out the door first thing. As we get toward 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning, temperatures in the 50s and then highs today making it back into the 60s. You'll see some thick upper level clouds that at times kind of dim out the sun, but it will be a nice and pleasant feel to the day today. Now we're going to start to head in the opposite direction as we go through the latter part of the week. Still plenty of cold mornings out there, but as high pressure builds, notice how you see that orange shading as the temperatures heading above average as we head into the weekend. So we'll show you how many more days we see in the 80s and why this high pressure system is going to keep us void of any needed widespread rain coming up in a few minutes.
I can't wait to see the science. Thanks, Chris. Well, happening today, city leaders in Raleigh are having their first meeting of the month and going over several topics, including the $1 million extra increase in demolition efforts for one former DMV property. Along with preparing for the America 250 celebration, the agenda lists the need for budget increases because of accommodating a larger crowd. That's because of safety measures, transportation, even site security. The meeting is happening today. That is at 1 p.m. inside the municipal building. One influential Republican group says that it plans to spend at least $71 million to help Michael Whatley's U.S. Senate campaign in North Carolina. It's part of a larger effort by the Senate Leadership Fund to keep the GOP majority in the U.S. Senate. The pledge comes less than a week after one Catawba College poll showed Democrat Roy Cooper having a 14-point lead over Whatley. And the race to replace U.S. Senator Tom Tillis was already expected to break records for political spending in North Carolina. One new study shows fewer pregnant women in emergency rooms have been taking Tylenol. Research from the journal The Lancet follows President Donald Trump's questionable claim that Tylenol is linked to autism. But most experts do not see a connection there. And major medical associations say Tylenol is the safest over-the-counter pain and fever reliever during pregnancy. Most states are extending the window for RSV vaccines. Shots for infants and toddlers will now be available through the end of April, as the virus lingers longer than usual. RSV, if you didn't know, typically follows, a fall to spring pattern with immunizations recommended through the end of March. Federal data shows positivity rates are higher than this time last year. Attorney General Jeff Jackson filed a brief with the state Supreme Court in a vaping case. One man is seeking damages after a vape shop sold him a counterfeit battery that exploded. This left him with very serious injuries. An appeals court blocked his lawsuit against the shop where he purchased it, and now Jackson is asking the state Supreme Court to hear that case out. Let's go ahead and swing over to weather right now. We've got meteorologist Chris Michaels in. Chris, slightly cooler this morning compared to yesterday, but I mean, that warm up, it's not going away later on today and the week.
Yeah, it's a nice kind of refreshing start to the morning as you step outside, a live look in Anger with some of those high clouds overhead. And as we mentioned before, a light jacket feels good. Temperatures about 45 to 49 degrees across much of the area this morning. As you're taking the dog for a walk, you probably have the sweater. Maybe the dog does too. Temperatures in the 40s up until until about 7 o'clock. By 9 o'clock, still mostly cloudy with the temperature in the low 50s. The thing about the clouds today, they're those thick, high-level cirrus clouds that could lead to a pretty nice sunrise. So if you get pictures of that, you send those to WRAL.com/report it. In terms of afternoon high temperatures, 64 to 69 degrees today. Goldsboro, Raleigh, Durham, and Sanford topping out around 67 degrees. Now, as we head into the evening and overnight hours, we'll start to see the sky clearing out a little bit. Nice calm wind and the air very dry. This sets up something that's called radiational cooling, which is just a fancy way of saying, hey, it's going to get cold pretty quick. So by tomorrow morning, we'll trade the 40s we have this morning for 30s. Roxborough near 32 tomorrow morning. Fayetteville at 39, Rocky Mount at 35, Lewisburg 34. So there could be some patches of frost from the triangle northward heading into first thing tomorrow morning. Not out of the ordinary. On average, your last frost toward the Virginia state line is mid to late April. It's usually early to mid-April in the triangle. So as you're planning for the garden, maybe just make sure that you have the plants covered up over the next few days. But you're definitely going to have to water anything that's outside from now through at least the weekend. So give you the green light on outdoor plans. Just know that those plants are going to need some good soaking here over the next, I'd say, 7 to 10 days. Notice as you look toward the bottom of the 7-day forecast where we usually have rain chances, there are none, okay? Temperatures in the 60s over the next few afternoons, very nice. Fridays in the 70s, then looking ahead to the weekend, warmer, not exactly humid, but high temperatures making it into the low to mid 80s Saturday, and that lingers into next week, Chris.
That is flower planting weather. All right, thanks, Chris. Your time right now is 4:49, and coming up, the chance to talk to the Luke Skywalker. A Star Wars original channeling a new Jedi role. That and more entertainment news ahead in the Hollywood Minute. Plus, moving forward in Johnston County, what to expect inside the newly approved Clayton High School campus. Getting a live look right now at Chapel Hill. Super quiet. It's calm. It's collected. Will it be a little louder today as UNC is expected to make their hire for a new men's basketball coach? We'll talk a little bit more about that later this morning on WRAL. Well, Mark Hamill is channeling a new sense of being a Jedi, and a classic book is being adapted into a limited series. David Daniel has that and more in today's Hollywood Minute.
Hello, how can I help you? Yes, the Lego Smart Play system is available in Lego Star Wars sets.
Lego with Luke. Mark Hamill is Lego's new Junior Executive Director of Information, or JEDI, sharing tips on its new Star Wars Smart Play line. On Wednesday, he'll chat with a few fortunate callers live about the new sets.
Answer your questions, I will.
It's unscripted. It's Unleashed.
A late-night laughs update. Comics Unleashed with Byron Allen is set to move up an hour, taking CBS's 11:35 slot after Late Night with Stephen Colbert signs off May 21st. Allen's comedy game show Funny You Should Ask will fill the 12:35 slot where Comics Unleashed had been playing.
We were on the plane. We were. And now we're trying to find out exactly where we are.
What nonsense.
Who's coming with me?
Here's your first look at Lord of the Flies, based on William Golding's iconic novel about British schoolboys stranded on a deserted island. The 4-part limited series from the award-winning writer of Adolescence debuts May 4th on Netflix. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
You ever read that book? I read that in high school. Messed up. Anyway, Oris is doing a lot better this morning after getting stuck on a bridge in Durham. The Eno Fire Department says several departments worked together to get the horse off the bridge unharmed. What you're seeing here are photos showing first responders with the horse along a riding trail. Now, I should mention the horse is now with a vet who is making sure the animal stays well. Leaders in Johnston County have approved a financial plan for the new Clayton High School. The new school will be designed with special attention to security and safety and will hold up to 2,000 students. It's expected to open in the fall of 2028. And Raleigh city leaders say construction of a new city hall is about 70% complete. What you're seeing here is video from earlier in the process. The final beam of the structure was put in place several months ago, and city leaders say the building will make running Raleigh easier with everything under one roof. If you didn't know, we are less than 7 weeks out from baseball returning at 5 County Stadium. These pictures show some of the work going on inside to get it ready for the Zebulon Devil Dogs. The team will be part of the Coastal Plain League, a summer league for college baseball players. Capital Broadcasting, which owns WRAL, owns the league and is the operator of 5 County Stadium. Your time is 4:55. School budget proposal. The cuts Wake County Schools is facing and the plans the superintendent will be sharing. Plus, planning ahead in Cary. Town leaders are set to share details today about their priorities, what residents can expect after questions about previous overspending. And speaking to astronauts, the crew making history in space and the question they answered from the president.